Among the generations of Chinese leaders before Xi Jinping, the one who was most interested in Buddhism was Jiang Zemin. Jiang Zemin once took the advice of Zhao Puchu, who was then the president of the Buddhist Association of China, and had 5 giant Buddha statues built across the country. After he retired, Jiang Zemin often visited famous sacred mountains and ancient temples, discussed Buddhist teachings with eminent monks, and even wrote temple name plaques for many monasteries. However, Jiang Zemin's relationship with Buddhism was more about interest than faith. He once said himself, "As the party's general secretary, I am an atheist, but religion still needs to be studied. I have broad interests, and I should also understand religion a bit. Every year, I go to one religious site, and the next generation successor he selected, Xi Jinping, later became a devout Buddhist. One of Xi Jinping's old friends said that not long after Xi left Zhongding, he went to Fujian to visit him. Xi showed a strong interest in Buddhist martial arts, Qigong, and other mysterious forces that are said to be good for health, as well as Buddhist holy sites. This old friend said he did not know whether Xi truly believed in Buddhism, but he was deeply shocked by how much Xi knew about this field, and it seemed Xi believed in supernatural power. Today, we're going to talk about the story of Xi Jinping and Buddhism. Xi's deep ties with Buddhism have accompanied his entire political career, and the beginning of this belief, to a large extent, may have come from his father, Xi Zhongxun. Xi Zhongxun was captured by Tibetan Buddhism quite early on. After 1949, Xi Zhongxun was responsible for United Front infiltration work toward Tibet's upper strata. During that period, he had interactions with the Dalai Lama, the Panchen Lama, and many Tibetan living Buddhas. In an interview, the Dalai Lama publicly recalled his interactions with Xi Zhongxun, saying he was very friendly and, relatively speaking, his thinking was quite open and he was a good person. The Dalai Lama once gave Xi Zhongxun an expensive watch, and later, before Xi Zhongxun passed away, he also expressed that he hoped to see the Dalai Lama. Xi Zhongxun's relationship with the 10th Panchen Lama has long been widely praised. Their friendship began in 1951. The 10th Panchen Lama passed through Xi'an, and Xi Zhongxun led people to the airport to welcome him. That day, Xi Zhongxun brought the Panchen Lama to his own home. The Panchen Lama was the same age as Xi Zhongxun's eldest son, Xi Fuping, and the two quickly started playing together. For the following decade plus, Xi Zhongxun was always responsible for United Front work toward the Panchen Lama and also surveillance. Every spring festival, as long as the Panchen Lama was in Beijing, one day for the Xi family would definitely be spent together with him. The Panchen Lama repeatedly told staff around him, "Comrade Xi Zhongxun's care and education for me truly left nothing unattended. Every time I listened to his talks, my understanding of issues rose another step. He truly is my teacher and elder, and also a sincere friend." At the end of 1980, Xi Zhongxun returned from Guangdong to the central leadership and later took charge of ethnic and religious work, among other things. Guangshao Temple in Guangzhou is the oldest and largest temple in the Lingnan region, and the 6th Patriarch Huineng ordained there. So Guangshao Temple became an enormously influential and important ancestral temple of Chan Buddhism. Since the Republican era, Guangshao Temple had continuously been occupied by various forces, and even into the early 1982, the problem still hadn't been resolved. Zhao Puchu, who was then the president of the Buddhist Association of China, filed his advice to the CCP, and the United Front Work Department of the Guangdong Provincial Party Committee submitted a report requesting the problem be solved. Xi Zhongxun, then a secretary of the Central Secretariat, wrote an instruction he should agree with the Guangdong Provincial Party Committee, United Front Department's opinion, and asked Comrade Tian Jiyun to handle it for approval. Tian Jiyun, then a vice premier of the State Council, approved it, and Guangshao Temple finally regained its Buddhist temple glory. The preserved body of the 6th Patriarch Huineng was damaged during the Cultural Revolution. After the Cultural Revolution ended, Xi Zhongxun, who was in charge of Guangdong, learned of the situation and sent people to notify the relevant authorities to restore the worship of the 6th Patriarch, but the relevant side refused for a time. Xi Jinping sent word, agree or not, it still has to be restored. As a result, the preserved body of the sixth patriarch, Huineng, was repaired. This is one of Xi Jinping's greatest merits. Many people say that Xi Jinping's ability to inherit supreme power cannot be separated from the merits Xi Jinping accumulated. During the period when Xi Jinping was in charge of religious work, the Central Secretariat passed Document No. 19, which put forward the arguments of religious belief theory and religious function theory. This document warned party members not to ban religious activities, saying that doing so would alienate too many people. The document also required the restoration of temples, Taoist shrines and churches, and the proper placement of religious professionals. In Xi Jinping's later years, a living Buddha from Qinghai visited him, and something happened that shocked this living Buddha. He said, "What shocked me more was that he clasped his hands together and raised them to the top of his head, saying he had sincere devotion deep in his heart toward the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama, and that the two of them would bless and protect him." So I felt very surprised as a high-level Communist Party leader when he became ill. What he still sought was the bodhisattvas. At the moment when Xi Jinping's life was about to end, facing the absolute nothingness of death, he ultimately bowed to supernatural forces and became a Tibetan Buddhist believer. Xi Jinping's attitude toward Buddhism was also something the young Xi Jinping saw with his own eyes, remembered in his heart, and was deeply influenced by. In 1982, Xi Jinping took off his military uniform and came to Zhengding County in Hebei Province, taking the position of Deputy County Party Secretary. Within Zhengding's territory, there is a Linji Chan Temple, the ancestral temple of the Linji school, which is one branch of the 5 houses of Chan Buddhism. The abbot at the time was Zen Master Yuming, the 45th generation successor of the Linji lineage. During Xi Jinping's 3 years in Zhengding, he went multiple times to inspect the Linji ancestral temple and became friends with Zen Master Yuming. At that time, Linji Temple had fallen into disrepair over many years. The buildings were dilapidated and the incense offerings were sparse and quiet. Under the pressure of atheism within the party, Xi Jinping still submitted a request for funding to the relevant provincial departments and obtained special funds dedicated to the restoration of ancient buildings. Using this money, Master Yuming rebuilt and repaired the ancient temple. Even after he was transferred away, Xi Jinping would still come to Zhengding from time to time to visit Master Yuming and would have some officials come here to learn how the party and religion could cooperate. Yuming's successor, Shi Huichang, said Xi Jinping showed respect toward Buddhism. I'm not sure whether he was a believer, but he respected Buddhism. He understood Buddhism better than most people. During his Zhengding period, Xi Jinping also met the then well-known writer Ke Yunlu. Ke Yunlu used Xi Jinping's experiences in Zhengding as the blueprint and created the TV series New Star, which achieved a rating share of 92%. Ke Yunlu strongly believed in paranormal abilities. Influenced by Ke Yunlu, Xi Jinping began practicing Qigong and reading Buddhist books. Xi Jinping's interest in Buddhism continued through his Fujian period. When Xi was in Fuzhou, Fuzhou people complained that he didn't do anything, and every day he only knew to run to temples to chat with monks and Taoist priests. At that time, the famous Buddhist leader and social activist Mr. Zhao Puchu was coming to Fuzhou, and Xi Jinping attached great importance to receiving him. At that time, many hotels did not have vegetarian food. Xi Jinping personally intervened in this matter, entrusting the mayor to personally review the menu and provide Zhao Puchu with purely vegetarian meals. During the Mid-Autumn Festival in 1993, Xi Jinping, in a meeting with representatives of Fuzhou's religious circles, pointed out that in old city renovation, urban construction, and large-scale land development, relocation issues involving churches and temples must both serve the needs of urban construction and also protect the legitimate rights and interests of the religious community and correct phenomena that infringe on the lawful rights and interests of religious groups. Xi Jinping also helped implement religious policy for Fuzhou's Gushan Yongchuan Temple. At the time, there were conflicts between the Gushan Scenic Area and Yongchuan Temple over coordinated management. After the abbot of Yongchuan Temple reported the situation to Xi Jinping, then the municipal party secretary, Xi, took it very seriously, emphasizing that the party's religious policy must be correctly implemented, and he promptly resolved the related issues. In April 1996, Xi Jinping became Deputy Secretary of the Fujian Provincial Party Committee and later took charge of United Front work. Secretary Xi worked very seriously and responsibly and basically visited all the larger Buddhist temples in the province. Secretary Xi often went down to do some field research, understood Buddhist work in particularly detailed and concrete ways, and solved many practical problems, said Bengxing, the abbot of Fuzhou Kaiyuan Temple. In Fujian, Xi Jinping met the young monk Shui Cheng. At the time, Shui Cheng was the beloved disciple of Zhao Puchu, then president of the Buddhist Association of China. With Zhao Puchu's strong backing, the 9-year-old Shui Cheng became the abbot of Guanghua Temple and also concurrently served as Deputy Secretary General of the Buddhist Association of China, becoming a leading figure among the younger generation of Buddhist leaders. In 1998, with the support of Xi Jinping, who was in charge of United Front work, Shui Cheng was elected president of the Fujian Buddhist Association, becoming a representative figure in Fujian's religious circles. Xi Jinping's family also became longtime acquaintances with Shui Cheng and often consulted him on issues. In 2003, Xi Jinping went to Xinjiang as provincial party secretary. Xinjiang has long been known as the Buddhist land of the southeast, producing eminent monks in large numbers. Many famous temples and sacred mountains in Jiangnan, such as Lingyan Temple, are renowned both in China and abroad. Xinjiang are unique Jiangnan Buddhist style. In 2006, on Peng Liyuan's suggestion, Xi Jinping personally applied to the central authorities to hold the first World Buddhist Forum in Hangzhou, becoming a major event in the global Buddhist community at that time. At the time, the senior party leader in charge of religion and United Front work was Xi Jinping's former superior, CPPCC, Chairman Jia Qinglin. Chairman Jia himself was also a devout Buddhist. He personally met with the representatives attending the forum. The Buddhist Forum gave Xi Jinping an opportunity to flatter old leaders and also showed the outside world his image as someone skilled at United Front work. It became a successful PR show for Xi. Fenghua in Zhejiang is the hometown of the cloth sack monk, the incarnation of Maitreya, and is known as the City of Maitreya. Building a cloth sack Maitreya giant Buddha statue had long been the wish of local Buddhist circles. However, the first approval process for an open-air Maitreya Buddha at Zhuedo Temple did not succeed. Xi Jinping also cared a great deal about the approval work for this giant statue. He personally listened to briefings from relevant departments and issued 4 important instructions, playing a key role in the statue's successful approval. Through joint efforts, the State Administration for Religious Affairs finally approved the construction of the bronze-seated Maitreya statue. There are widespread rumours that while Xi Jinping was serving in Zhejiang, a senior monk from Jingshan Temple once predicted that Xi would one day ascend to supreme power and personally instructed him on key matters, telling him what he should pay attention to. From that point on, Xi reportedly acted in an extremely low-key and cautious manner, constantly afraid of making mistakes that could ruin major affairs. It was also from this time that Xi Jinping convened a family meeting and required all family members to withdraw from the business world in order to avoid giving political enemies any leverage. However, this matter cannot be independently verified. At the 18th Party Congress in 2012, Xi Jinping succeeded as General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party and became the new generation of leader. The prediction made years earlier by the senior monk from Jingshan Temple became reality. Xi Jinping may therefore have come to believe that his rise to supreme power was predestined, which in turn made his belief in Buddhism even stronger. After that, Xi Jinping visited major temples such as giant Buddha temples many times for inspections, and also repeatedly visited Tibetan Buddhist monasteries in Qinghai and Tibet. He became more deliberate in his support and promotion of Buddhism, and even promoted Buddhism on various international occasions. On the 14th of February 2015, Valentine's Day, Peng Liyuan specifically went to Daqian Temple beneath the Big Wild Goose Pagoda in Xi'an to pray for blessings for Xi Jinping's political career. In 2014, Xi Jinping met with visiting Lin Chan and figures from Taiwan at the Diaoyutai State Guest House. Among them was Master Xing Yun, the founder of Taiwan's Fo Guangshan, representing the religious community. When Xi met Master Xing Yun, he made a point of saying, "I have finished reading all the books you gave me." The books Master Xing Yun gave Xi Jinping were A Century of Buddhist Affinity, an oral history work consisting of 9 volumes. Once reports stated that Xi Jinping had finished reading the entire set almost overnight, the book sold out. In September 2014, Xi Jinping began a state visit to Sri Lanka and published a signed article in local newspapers titled "Dream Chasing Partners in the Same Boat," in which he mentioned that the Chinese monk Faxian initiated the 1,000-year Buddhist bond between China and Sri Lanka. That same year, Xi Jinping visited India and went to sites along Xuanzang's journey westward for scriptures, as well as places where Xuanzang practiced cultivation. Coinciding with Indian Prime Minister Modi's 64th birthday, Xi Jinping specially presented Modi with gifts such as a documentary film about the Xuanzang route. In his conversations with Modi, Xi repeatedly mentioned the spirit of Xuanzang and Buddhist culture. In the end, the two sides reached a consensus to use the revival of the Xuanzang spirit as an entry point for China-India exchanges. In 2016, when Xi Jinping visited the headquarters of UNESCO, he delivered a speech in which he comprehensively explained China's own view of civilization to the world for the first time, mentioning Buddhism with Chinese characteristics. Later, when Xi spoke at the opening ceremony of the Belt and Road Forum in a speech of more than 6,000 words, he mentioned Buddhism 3 times. On the surface, the Communist Party still holds up the banner of atheism. For Xi Jinping, as the head of this atheistic organisation, to speak to this extent about Buddhism in public settings is already no small thing. In internal meetings, Xi Jinping is often influenced by Buddhist scriptures and unconsciously quotes Buddhist terminology and concepts. For example, he cited the Buddhist concept of Dingli mental steadiness, creating the political terms political steadiness and strategic steadiness. The phrase he often uses, "do not forget the original aspiration," also originally comes from Buddhist texts. During this period, Shui Cheng came to Beijing and established Longquan Temple. He brought in many PhDs from Peking University and Tsinghua University, began spreading Buddhism through Weibo, and introduced modern technological methods. He quickly became famous among white-collar professionals, and many people considered him one of the most important reformers in Chinese Buddhism in the past 100 years. In 2015, again by Xi Jinping's personal designation, Shui Cheng became the youngest president in the history of the Buddhist Association of China, while simultaneously serving as a member of the Standing Committee of the CPPCC and vice chairman of the All China Youth Federation, among other prominent positions. However, what shocked public opinion was that in 2018, Shui Cheng was publicly reported by 2 monks for sexually assaulting female students. Despite investigations confirming the allegations, Xi Jinping still issued instructions to work hard at repentance and live out the remaining years in peace. The latter part of this instruction signalled Xi Jinping's intent to protect Shui Cheng. As a result, Shui Cheng did not face any criminal punishment for rape or corruption. He was merely taken back to a temple in Fujian, placed under closed-door reflection, and banned from leaving the country. Meanwhile, one of the whistleblowers was placed under house arrest, and the other fled overseas. While constantly displaying his familiarity with and fondness for Buddhism, Xi Jinping at the same time adopted iron-fisted policies toward Buddhism, especially Tibetan Buddhism. He wanted religion to undergo complete Sinicization, to be fully subordinate to the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party, and to become a spiritual tool for the CCP to control the people. In April 2016, the National Conference on Religious Work was held in Beijing. Xi Jinping attended and delivered an important speech proposing that religions must support the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party, support the socialist system, and adhere to the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics. His attitude toward Buddhism is utilitarian and selective, alternating between co-opting and suppressing it. The World Buddhist Forum and Master Xing Yun's visits to the mainland were merely part of United Front policy. Xi Jinping has never truly treated Buddhism as China's state religion or governing ideology. What he truly believes in is still Mao Zedong's set of ideas, legalist governance wrapped in Marxist packaging, Marx plus Qin Shi Huang. In 2016, Xi Jinping ordered the takeover of China's largest Tibetan Buddhist academy community, Larunga Buddhist Academy. Local authorities expelled more than 1,000 monks and nuns, demolished monastic housing, and capped the number of monks and nuns at 5,000. In 2018, the CCP ordered local governments to regulate large outdoor religious statues. This campaign mainly targeted Buddhism and Taoism among the 5 officially recognised religions. Many Buddhist and Taoist statues were violently demolished. In cultural, educational and other public fields, the CCP is also strictly guarded against all religions, including Buddhism. Only the CCP itself is allowed to act as the engineer of the human soul. Religion is strictly prevented from penetrating schools and classrooms to ensure the monopoly of Marxism. Under both coercion and inducement by the CCP, Buddhist groups across the country held study sessions declaring firm study of Xi Jinping's religious thought and unwavering support for the Sinicization of Buddhism. Under mainland China's religious policies, the CCP's status appears to have risen above the Buddha. For example, when Shaolin Temple's abbot Shi Yongxin was reported for keeping mistresses, he believed the party's investigation would clear his name. The reverence of Buddhist monks toward Xi Jinping has reached the level of worship. They have publicly stated that they will tightly unite around the party central committee with Xi Jinping at its core and realise Chairman Xi's Chinese dream. Recently, videos of Master Jinkong's lectures have gone viral online. This monk believes Xi Jinping is a bodhisattva incarnation, and therefore that the world is full of hope. For Xi Jinping, believing in Buddhism is only one aspect. He also deeply believes in Qigong, paranormal abilities, and Feng Shui. On the 2nd of March 2015, President Xi met Britain's Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, at the Great Hall of the People. Xi stated that China and the UK would carry out a series of exchanges and competitions in martial arts and Qigong. Under Xi's attention, the General Administration of Sport retained the Qigong Centre as a department-level public institution, overseeing national organisations such as the Chinese Health Qigong Association, holding annual national competitions and training programs, and organising exchanges with other countries. In terms of Feng Shui, the great leader never forgets his own ancestral graves and his father's tomb. He designated his younger brother, Shi Yu and Ping, to be specifically responsible for this matter, had Ren Ferong, chairman of the Chinese Taoist Association, examine Shi Zhongxun's tomb Feng Shui, and tacitly allowed local officials to expand Shi Zhongxun's mausoleum. He also paid close attention to China's so-called dragon veins. For matters that could potentially damage the Qinling dragon vein, he issued 6 instructions, later dispatched a central inspection team, and did not hesitate to demolish more than 1,000 villas and investigate dozens of officials, including the former Shanxi provincial party secretary. A person with only an elementary school education, who never received basic modern scientific training, and whose knowledge largely came from traditional Chinese classics he read while in Shaanxi, is naturally inclined to accept traditional concepts such as Buddhism and Feng Shui. His father, mother, eldest sister, and wife are all basically Buddhists. In the 1,980 seconds, when he was young, it was also a time when Qigong and paranormal abilities were popular. Even national leaders and scientific figures like Qian Xusen firmly believed in them, which further deepened his obsession. And living within China's unpredictable political system, where everything around him was filled with uncertainty, and where the rise and fall of officials often lacked clear patterns, many things could only be explained through religion or fatalism. Of course, Xi Jinping is not the only high-ranking CCP official who believes in religion and Feng Shui. Many fallen officials have similar stories. For example, former Politburo Standing Committee member Zhou Yongkang had a person named Cao Yongzheng by his side. Master Cao was Zhou Yongkang's most trusted figure. Whenever major matters arose, Zhou would consult Master Cao, and in return, Zhou would always take care of Master Cao's affairs, even more reliably than his own son. Master Cao thus accumulated tens of billions in assets. Another example is former Politburo member and Chongqing Party Secretary Sun Zhengchai, who reportedly kept a dragon robe for the emperor at home and would bow to it whenever he had free time. Stories like these are countless, so I won't go on. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you.